Hey, so I've had some requests on how I made my stern mount GoPro mount. It's actually pretty easy, so I'll kind of go over how I did that in this video. Really, it was pretty cheap to make. It's got two main plumbing connectors in it. It has a 1-inch slip-on female to a male threaded adapter. That's this piece and this piece. Down here at the bottom, we have got a 1-inch female to female threaded plumbing piece. We've got a 1-inch piece of PVC pipe in the middle, and then we've got a piece of flex tubing. All this stuff can be gotten from Lowe's. One of the nice things is that I designed for this to be able to bend in the event of a roll and pop back up. As you can see, it pretty much comes all the way back up to its original position. Might need a little bit of adjusting through some human intervention. The other part that I like about this is that it's able to thread on and off. So if I want to stow it in the event of a portage or going back home. And then I have a leash mechanism that runs the entire length of the inside of this pipe. It goes through the GoPro mount, through all the pipe, and then attaches to the grab loop. A lot of concern might be that this piece of pipe right here, or sleeving, would allow this to come apart. As you can see, it's very difficult to get apart. But once it does come apart, it's got the string on the inside, the parachute cord, which will hold all these pieces together in the event that they did come apart on the river. Alright. Perfect. Some of the tools that I used are very basic. Everybody should be able to either have these at home or know somebody that they can get the tools from. One is standard toilet paper. Two is PVC cement. If you don't have this, you can get it at Lowe's for like $3 or $4. Two-part epoxy. I like the Loctite brand. It was 15 bucks for both of these, but you can get it in a hypodermic-looking syringe type deal, and it's like $4 or $5. I used an old Frisbee that belonged to my dog. Sorry, Sonny. A plastic spoon, but for this demonstration, I've got a metal kitchen spoon. This is a torque screwdriver with a tamper-proof bit, which I used a box cutter. This is some flat steel that I also bought at Lowe's. It's 1/4 inch thick, 1 inch wide, and it was 24 inches long. I paid like $8 for that. This is just a 1/4 inch piece of dowel rod, also got at Lowe's. It was like $4 for that. 1/2 inch wrench, drill, hacksaw, file, and then last but not least, the hardware. So I have a 1/4 inch bolt and the nut that goes along with it. Don't know if you can see this in the video, but that nut has a neoprene lock washer inside. This is a lock nut, and I like to use a lock nut so that way it won't loosen up out on the river. Alright, so the first part of the project was to make my own grab loop. Basically what I did was I measured the distance right here and cut out a piece of my flat steel. The reason why I had to do that was because I couldn't figure out how to get a piece to mount onto the stock grab handle. Alright, so I just made a flat grab handle. It was nice and wide that would fit onto very easily. The file and the hacksaw were used to cut out these little indentations because this right here is a little bit narrower than the width that the steel was. So I used the hacksaw, cut that out, filed it down so it didn't have any sharp edges. Next thing I did was I took my toilet paper and I took my female and female adapter and I plugged half of the adapter with toilet paper. Once half of the adapter was plugged with toilet paper, what I did was I took a bolt and I sat it down inside of there really carefully. And what that allowed me to do is take my epoxy with my spoon and shovel small amounts of epoxy in around the bolt. And I let that sit for 24 hours. And once I did, what I was left with was a stud on one side and then the threads on the other side. Stud goes into the hole that I drilled there. And then that allows me, having that allows me to then thread in the pole mount. Okay? Alright. The pole mount construction was very simple. I took my piece of 1-inch PVC pipe. I cut off a 4-inch piece. Okay? I have here my 1-inch female slip-on to male threaded adapter. And what I did was I took this adapter and I put it down on a flat surface, and I cut off about a 1.5-inch piece of this dowel rod, and I dropped it down inside of that adapter, and then filled it with epoxy. Careful only to fill the threaded section. Okay, you don't want to get it up into this section, because what you're going to have to do later on is take this 4-inch piece, shove it down in there. Alright? Once the 4-inch piece is in there, then you want to mix some more epoxy and pour it down in there so that this portion is then filled up. The reason is that piece of metal is in there, is what it does is it adds tensile strength to the threads, and it keeps them from snapping off if they're hit laterally, such as if your boat goes around and catches a rock. And if you look carefully at the end of this, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see a circle in there, a really dark gray spot. That's the end of the steel dowel rod, and then you can see that that's solid filled with epoxy. Alright, as far as for the other end, this piece here is one of these with the threads cut off. And what that does is it gives me a nice smooth surface for my GoPro mount to stick onto. Be careful before you glue this piece on and this piece on and shove them into the sleeve, that you go ahead and you run your piece of parachute cord through to act as your camera leash and your pole mount leash. If you forget to, it's really, really difficult to take all this stuff back apart. So that's the one tip. Other than that, that's the mount. As you can see, it screws on. It's pretty stout, pretty strong. Take a little bit of abuse. And that's it. Thanks.